Hey, it's Samantha with the Rediscover Real podcast. I am so thrilled to be here with you. Are you feeling overwhelmed, confused, or stuck on a hamster wheel from constantly seeking external tools, validation, and buffering in a search for more joy and fulfillment? Rediscover Real means to pull back the curtain and return to the foundation, peeling away the layers of mindsets, identities, and beliefs that no longer serve us. As we choose to grow, move forward, and show up fully as God intended, because at our very core, inside of you, lies everything already, as God created you absolutely perfect. We get to uncover and rediscover what's inside of us, and then to expand into what we're capable of. In this space, we'll dive into topics on personal finance and budgeting, mindset and growth, relationships, network marketing, and entrepreneurship. I'm sure there'll be some laughter and possibly a few tears along the way. I'm on this journey and you're invited. I'm holding out my hand for you. Will you join me? Let's rediscover real together. Today's episode, I want to talk about dating and dating apps specifically. Now you might have your own preconceived notions about good or bad or ugly and where dating apps fall into that. And there's good, bad, and ugly with anything. And I know lots of people who have gotten married because of them and have beautiful, long-lasting relationships that are incredible. And I also know people who use it for maybe not quite so much of that, the opposite of that. And those are their choices. Personally, and this is the fun side of things that I get to unpack and share my experience and journey. I've downloaded the apps and had the apps in years past. I actually deleted the apps after a while, and like what a while. I deleted them this spring, and we'll get into that. So, but dating in general has been, and I mean, this could be a very long episode if I let it, because there's a lot of things from how I was raised and how I grew up and dating and that whole thing that we could dig into, but I'm not going to. We're going to leave it at, I'm at a place where, I choose to date. I'm not looking to just go on fun dates and randomly, date people. I'm dating with a purpose and wanting to find someone who can be the partner that God wants them to be for me, and build a life together and get married and be around, for the rest of my life. And that's the goal. Not everybody sees it that way. So, a little bit of my backstory in terms of dating was I was in a relationship for 7 years, almost up until 2 years ago. And we started dating when I was 21. I had very briefly dated one other person before that, and had gone on like barely a handful of dates-ish, again, via online dating. And a couple of people I'd met in person, but very, very, very few actual real dates. A lot of like coffees or, going for supper, but kind of not in a romantic date setting. Let's put it like that. In a getting to know somebody way, but definitely didn't have that like feel of maybe the traditional, like somebody's taking me out on a date feel. Okay. Anyways, so dated one person very, very briefly before, and then ended up in this relationship ended up in a relationship, chose to be in this committed relationship for almost 7 years until 2 years ago. And there's a lot that goes on with that, a little over 2 years ago now. Anyways, so a few months after that ended, I was like, okay, I don't necessarily feel ready to jump into a fully committed relationship, but I've been in a relationship for almost 7 years. I don't even know hardly how to talk to a guy anymore, because when I was in a committed relationship, I was fully committed. And aside from like a few of my friends' spouses who you still don't talk to a whole lot, I barely talked to a guy, besides the relationship I was in. And so I was like, I don't even know what I want, what I like, what I'm looking for. I don't really have a clue about any of this, let alone have a conversation. And like, don't even get me started on trying to flirt. We have no clue how to do that. Still don't, for the record. And someday, if somebody who I'm in a relationship with or married to listens to this, you'll probably laugh very hard at that because it's true. And so I downloaded the apps in all their wisdom, because my life doesn't have a lot of random single guys in it. And especially ones that I'd want to get to know. And so started chatting with some people, and I wasn't totally sure where I was going to go with it, but ended up meeting some really nice people. And over the course of, up until I deleted the apps a few months ago, went on a lot of really, really great first dates. A few scary first dates, but went on a lot of coffee dates and out for supper a few times. And, there were a couple of people along the way that I got to know, and I'm really thankful for those relationships, like in what they were, not like committed relationships, because they never got to that level, because of either person and people not being ready. But I'm really thankful for each one of those experiences. And in that process, learning how to talk to guys and how to have conversations, and what I'm looking for. And at the same time, a lot of prayer and consideration, and digging into like, what are the character traits I'm looking for in a person, and what do I want that to look like? And there was a lot of things that I got to unpack along the way of character, and unpacking more garbage in myself, and still obviously on that healing journey as well, from past relationships and all that stuff. And through all of that, coming to a place where now I feel like I know what I'm looking for. I feel like I've interacted with enough guys that, because words are one thing, but actions are a whole different story, right? And that was something that is hard for me, because a character trait I work really hard at is I am impeccable with my word. And I'm by no means perfect. I've screwed that up a lot. But more than who I'm looking for a list of boxes to check, is who do I want to be in a relationship? How do I want to show up in a relationship? Like, self-integrity, who do I want to be, and how do I get to show up? And fully believing that God has the right person for me, and when the time is right, they'll show up. And then you get to put in the work and do the things, and to create that. But the actions versus words piece is probably one of the hardest things I got to walk through, because you meet someone who you think is a nice person, and they are a nice. I have met incredible people, and these are a few of the things I never want for a second. Just like with anything, there are good people and there are bad people, and just because you have a few rotten apples doesn't mean that they all are. And also that they can be a nice person, that doesn't mean they're not the right person for you. And they can also be an incredible person, and you can be like, gosh darn it, you're a really great person, but if there's missing pieces, missing components, which I'm not going to get into the different components of relationships and dating and that and what I'm looking for, they can be an incredible person, but they might not be the right person for you. And that's been one of the hardest things to walk through and to have to walk out, because you don't want to hurt someone. And if you can see the incredibleness and that they're a great guy, or vice versa, but that doesn't mean they're the right person for you. And that is not fun. And that's been challenging to walk through, because there's a piece, if you sit, you can easily go to fear and be like, I'm never going to find the right person. Now, no person is going to be perfect, but when you can see that there's big pieces missing, needs that you have that they can't meet, or character, there are some character traits that are just not in alignment with what you're looking for. Saying you're an incredible person, but you're not the right person for me, is really hard. And it's hard to hear too for the other person. And then taking actions over just words. And that's one of the most difficult things, I think, is because we all have brokenness and baggage, is unpacking. Sometimes actions speak differently than the words they're saying, but if the words they're saying, if they don't match, it doesn't work. Like, I've had people that, they'll say the right words, that they're wanting a relationship and those things, but their actions don't align, or their actions actually align, like they want a relationship, but their words are saying they don't. And the bottom line is that doesn't work. You're going to get hurt. And you can't, just because their actions are telling you they want a relationship, doesn't mean that you run into that going, because you think they're a great person, that you can run into that. And that's been a really challenging piece for me to walk through, because you can see, I'm the type of person that can see the potential in somebody and can see that future, and can build that future in my brain. But if their brain is holding them back from actually wanting to be in that and looking for that, you can't change that. And I don't try to change people at all. It is not my responsibility. And that's not something that you want to be a responsibility. So that's been fun. So all of this to say, I would highly encourage you, if you're in a season of singleness, or maybe you're younger and you haven't dated a whole lot, go on first dates. Coffee dates are great. Especially if you don't know that, like, if you don't know the person in real life, get face to face with them, and look at it from a perspective of, you're just getting to know guys, and be straight up about that you're looking for a relationship, but you're in a season where you're just trying to figure out, like, you've never really dated before. What do you actually like? What are you looking for? What actually, like, jives with you? And then go do fun things with the people that you feel you can trust, or you want to, you see enough, you see lots of good things, and you're like, I want to get to know you more. Don't be afraid to go do fun things, and those pieces, like, go find activities and go, do things that kind of can sometimes challenge people's character and takes the filter off, like mini golf, or something, and get to know them. But also, don't be afraid to have boundaries, lots of boundaries. Like, that is not a bad thing. And to know what you're looking for, like, in what season, and being really honest with yourself of, are you just getting to know people right now and looking to meet people, or are you actually looking for your person, somebody to get married to? And what does that look like? So that's, like, a little bit of my journey. The last thing I wanted to share about was actually getting off of the dating apps and deleting them. And I'm actually recording this, and I just downloaded one of the apps again after a few month break. And it was uncomfortable at first to sit in a space of, because I've had lots of fun experiences. There's been lots of mini golf now. There's been fun activities, getting to know people and those things. And there's been lots of first coffee dates. I have a pretty good idea what I'm looking for. I know how to talk to a guy. But I'm not just looking for anyone. I'm looking for connection. I'm not getting into all that on here. But I was at a place where I'm like, hey, where are my priorities at? And where does God want me to be focused right now? And getting to do some searching around that and come to a place where it felt like it was time to delete the apps and just really focus on my career and my things in my life outside of that. And to be okay with saying it's not a priority right now to find a husband, because there's a lot of shame and guilt around being single, especially as you get older. I did turn 30 this year, which was super fun. And I look at it as I'm just getting started. And I finally feel like I'm maybe at a place where I'm actually mature enough and have some of my ish sorted out where I could be in a more healthy relationship. Maybe in God's timing. But to also be able to say, okay, while I'm there, it's okay if I say this isn't the right time. That's not a high priority. I have other things that are higher up the priority. And like launching a podcast and doing these things and not talking endlessly. And quite frankly, a lot of the apps, like I said, there's lots of great people, but there's also lots of trash, quite frankly. And sifting through trash, trying to find a unicorn, there might be, I just have different priorities. And so it's been a season of that. And it's been really, really good. Now, I downloaded one of them again. We'll see where that goes, or if I delete it again right away. I'm feeling ready to delete it. But I don't meet a lot of people outside of my life because I work at home and this is my life. Getting off of them though and deleting it was really huge. And I would encourage you, if you've been on them for a while or a long time, to delete them. Whether you delete your accounts or not, at least delete the apps or like remove the apps from your home screen and see how many times in a day you want to go check them for that hit of dopamine and that like feel good feeling, because it's a habit. And when we start seeking that, we know that's not healthy. So like I said, I think they can be used for good. I think there's lots of great people out there. But just checking your motives and checking where your habits are at. And if you're just looking for that like hit of dopamine, that feel good feeling, somebody swiped right on you or somebody messaged you or whatever that is, or someone who's been pen pals with you for the last 12 months messaged you again. It's a real thing. If you're not in the dating world or have never done it, it's a real thing. There's lots of pen pals out there. So yeah, don't be afraid to get off of them for a season. And then having the faith, and that's the last few months of not having them, is trusting God's direction in deleting them and having faith that doesn't mean like, that wasn't me. Like I hear a lot of people, oh, I just deleted them, I'm just giving up on dating, I'm not doing that. And that wasn't the case. Getting to a point, there were days where I felt like that I wanted to delete them for that reason, but I deleted them when I was a place where I was like, it's not that I don't want to date, it's not that I don't necessarily feel like I'm ready, it's I have other priorities, first of all, but also more so even actually is I feel like God wants me to delete them. And I get to have faith that just because I'm deleting them doesn't mean I'm giving up on dating and I'm, need to go get the extended crazy cat lady package. That in his timing, that I get to trust and have faith, and in his timing, the right person will come along. So that's a fun one to unpack. I'd love to hear your takeaways if you have any, or just that you find this like hilarious, or you found it interesting because you've never gone down that path and you're, happily married and that's not something that's ever going to be part of your life. But you're curious, like, what does it look like? Or if you're young and you're starting to look at dating, or you're, wanting to find your person and you're praying that God brings them to you, and sometimes it feels like it's just not happening. When we stop like desperately seeking and like being desperate, God has a way of teaching us those lessons. And when we finally get to a place where we're not in desperation, then lots of good things happen. And the bottom line is, I mean, after the few months of deleting them, I'm still single, very, very single. But it's been good, but it felt really uncomfortable. For the first few weeks, honestly, I was like, now I hear from, there's no one talking to me. Now I'm like, it was that moment of like, hey God, like, no, I'm choosing to trust you, because like there's literally, my phone is quiet. Like there's nothing besides my work stuff. And so being okay with that and not seeking that validation and significance from random strangers off the internet. I mean, and you can apply this to anything else, right? Whether it's how many likes you get on a post or how many comments, or it doesn't have to be with dating. So how can you just sit in a space of contentment and with where you're at right now, and trust and faith that God will bring the right person when the time is right, and not trying to force something or make something work, are also really key. So I hope this has been fun. And if you have any feedback or questions or like comments, concerns, queries, I'd love to have those conversations with you as well. And obviously we're not getting into the specifics of how to be safe and what to do and those things on here. That's not the point of this. But I hope this has been fun. We'll see you soon. You just finished another episode of the Rediscover Real podcast. My hope is always that you come away encouraged. And if you found this valuable, would you share it with a friend? And be sure to tag me on social media. I love seeing your takeaways. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And I would so appreciate it if you took a second to rate and review this podcast so that more people can find it. Also, take a peek in the show notes for a link to my website that has a special gift just for you for listening today. As always, I'm on the journey and you're invited. Let's rediscover real together.